My name is Don Yeomans. I primarily work with wood, but I've done metal, graphics. I've done paintings. I'm not really attached to any one medium. I find doing jewelry or a 40-foot totem pole equally as interesting. I did a job for the airport, I want to think about 8 years ago. For those meetings that I just basically asked to see what they were going to put on the floor, the tiles, and we worked with their colors. Because I think if you impose your tradition and your colors as a religion, it taints your environment. It's too strong. But it was easier just to paint the wood, the colors, the tiles, and then go from there. When I started working for Bill Reed in the 80s, I came in as a mercenary. I already had a career, so I was working with him, and his biggest influence on me was primarily teaching me how to be an artist. He had a project for the city of Vancouver. The expo was going on, but it was also the 100th anniversary of Vancouver, and there was the studio had been commissioned to do a 18-foot pole for Kitsilano High School. And the artist that was working with him took a 30% deposit on the job and then left town. So Bill was stuck with the rest of the commission and only 6 weeks to do it. So I came in and did it for him. So he came to see me at the job site. We strategized over the job, and then we were done in 20 minutes, and I never saw Bill again until we raised the pole. But before he left, we sat there and he looked around, and there was 5 people pacing outside of this work area. And he says, "This sure beats the hell out of working for a living, doesn't it?" Because in his mind, they were working and we were having fun. The big giant box that's at the Bill Reed Gallery is actually was used to carry a smaller box which housed his ashes. And it was carried by canoe out to the village of Tanu, and they sprinkled his ashes out there. But yeah, it was basically a memorial box. Bill and I were friends, and it has a lot of his stuff in it. The wolf crest is his, and the raven in there is his. The raven does occur in a lot of Bill's work and in mine, but the thing you have to remember is raven is a character in mythology that's in most of the legends, but also, I think more to the point, Bill's crest is raven. So they were his discoveries and his representation of himself. Just in the same way I do, I put raven in scenarios where I have an interest in. When I came into this business, I was a child, and during the 60s and 70s, nobody I knew of was making a living at it. Even my teacher was taking small jobs as a waitress. Bill was a radio personality. In 1964, when they were in the middle of the totem pole job at UBC, he gave an interview to the Vancouver Sun, and in it, he advises young natives, do not become an artist. Go fishing, go logging. There's no money in this, because they worked out there for 2.5 years for very small wages. I think Bill gets a lot of credit now because he was the first one to kind of crash that barrier to actually make a living at it. And that's significant. If I had to advise young artists now that we're trying to come up in our business, it would be simply just do it. Don't wait around till you get an application into a carving school. You don't need to work with anybody. You don't need permission culturally. You don't have to sing and dance. Just carve. If you want to carve, carve. As Bill said, success is 1,000 fathers. You want to be an accepted native? Be a good artist, or be a good anything. Be a good person, you know? I think waiting kills you. He never stopped moving, you know? Even towards the end of his life, when he was physically unable to move, he would sit in a chair and make things with wire just to keep his hands moving and his brain active. The last thing I remember, like one of the most amazing things to me, was in 1997, I did a show in Vancouver. It was my first one-man show here. And I went to visit him to tell him, to invite him. And he was in a fetal position and he was apologizing. He said some type of rigor mortis had settled in and they couldn't figure out how to medically straighten him out right now. And he asked me why I was there, and I told him I was having a show. And he said, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I was supposed to get a CAT scan, but they can't straighten me out to put me in the machine. And I said, well, I just wanted to let you know. And like 2 weeks later, the show opening, I came to the gallery early, and there he was in the front door in a wheelchair. And I said, holy cow, you made it. And he said, I wouldn't miss this for the world. And he went downhill right after that. But it was good. You know, I thought that was a gesture of a true friend.